All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another fun and exciting episode of For the North. This is actually number 7, technically, of this.
But already 7.
Already 7. Already
Wow.
7. Here we are. We've been kind of chugging along, and this has been going well. We've appreciated everybody that has listened to our, tangents, who has listened to us rant and rave about the NFC North. So if you've tuned in, if you've liked, if you've subscribed, if you've engaged with our content, thank you so much for that so far. We got a big one this week, just from the standpoint that we finally had, teams. We're kind of after this week we'll be out of the bye weeks, and we had an exciting Thursday night football matchup, and then kind of your typical Sunday slate, a lot more of the noon games. Of course, the Packers had the Sunday night football game. So we got a lot to talk about. But let's just, like you said, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and do this, dive right into this and talk about the Minnesota Vikings and the Chargers.
Yeah, I think there were a slew of injuries that affected the Vikings, both on offense and defense. They looked a little banged up. Defense, second quarter, even from being out on the field so much, that first quarter looked gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's just the refusal. I don't know what more they could have done. Nothing was really working. They tried the short passing game. They tried the run game. Wentz was getting, hit from everywhere.
Yeah.
You couldn't really protect him from either side. It was just a complete disaster for the Vikings.
I thought they might have a fighter's chance, right? Like going on the road. Like I knew it was a short week, and we talked about that, how we were a little bit concerned. I just like losing both tackles though. That's a really hard hurdle to jump over. Not having Darisaw, remind me of the name of the other tackle.
Brian O'Neill.
Thank you. Yeah, not having both of your tackles is a really hard, as I said, hurdle to clear. Wentz was under fire, under duress the whole frickin' game, and it just it got to a point where the situation kind of looked out of hand, and he was clearly in pain, and which we now figure out, about a week later, is that he's going through season-ending shoulder surgery for, separated, something with the AC joint, something. But he was getting absolutely smacked on Sunday night, and like you said, not a lot worked well from the get-go of that game.
And to be fair, to any quarterback too, he threw 3 interceptions, yes. Still had plenty of yards somehow, because that's the Carson Wentz experience. But it was, to be fair to him, not a lot of quarterbacks could have survived constant pressure all night. And you know what? I like the Chargers team, so I was like, you know what? I wasn't terribly surprised or upset. Was a little disappointed that they couldn't find a way to adapt.
Yeah.
And I think what myself and a lot of Minnesota fans are really sick of talking about is like, oh, we'll probably still somehow get the wild card this year because that's how it always goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, we're kind of sick of like make or break wild card seasons.
Yeah.
At this point, and I'm sure a lot of other NFC North teams and their fans can attest to that. We need a huge change here in Minnesota, and maybe this year is just the year that we embrace JJ McCarthy coming in, see what he can do. He either improves or he doesn't.
Yeah.
And we either choose to move on, or we keep him, develop him, actually, have a consistent quarterback. Because I feel like the Vikings have been quite frustratingly the only team that has not had a quarterback other than Kirk Cousins, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah.
For a decent span. I can't even call Kirk Cousins a long span because he wasn't here that long.
What was it? By the end of it all, I thought it was like almost 8 seasons, was it not? Like it
Yeah, but like...
I mean, but the frustrating thing with Kirk Cousins is like I think we never got to like see his full potential because they would change coordinator.
Because of Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Mike Zimmer.
Mike Zimmer and changing of coordinators every year, and Stefanski moving on, and the other guy, that I'm not going to remember his name, moving on, and it's just like we never, Minnesota fans have never gotten this, kind of experience of a long tenured, stable quarterback, and that's frustrating because you kind of hit on it. Right, a question that I was going to ask. So you are not, and I think I know your answer here, but I don't believe that you are in the camp that the Vikings should go out and try to trade for or sign a veteran player at this point. I think they've got the roster that they've got, and
How many washed up veterans can we go through here before we actually say like, hey, let's develop a young guy. Yeah. Let's kind of embrace it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Make sure, hopefully during the mini bye week, it sounded like Christian Darrisaw was getting healthier, if I remember correctly. If I heard that correct from training camp today,
sounded like. So,
but it's just like, man, being a Vikings fan. I mean, I'm sure being a Packers fan is a similar roller coaster.
Yeah, it has its fair share.
But it was just frustrating to see the defense really play decent a couple of snaps. I mean, Justin Herbert, with all, credit to him, is a great quarterback.
Yeah.
He's also, got one of the best coaches in NFL or college football to ever coach the game.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't surprised. Luckily, I made myself some great food, so had a great time. Didn't have too much to complain about, and I had Friday off. So
nice. I was going to say, eat through the pain and take Friday off, and you'll be okay.
Right.
I just I kind of see where you're coming from here with the quarterback situation in Minnesota. That you had texted me after the game, and it was just kind of like clearly the I didn't say too much to you because I thought it's like, okay, I'll let him kind of wallow in his own feelings for a night or a day or so, and when we did text, you were saying that it's just kind of like clearly the Minnesota fan base is at the point where something needs to change. I don't necessarily agree with the fan base that was calling for Max Brosmer to start. Granted, kind of the whole situation with Carson Wentz and how that unfolded with no tackles, like you said, there's injuries and they were a bit shorthanded. But I just don't see, outside of like them reuniting with Kirk Cousins, I don't really see reinforcements coming. This is kind of the roster that they have, and it's time to kind of take the training wheels off of JJ McCarthy and see what they've got.
You might have to sit with the 500 season. You might have to, well, and like Jordan Love, I believe, missed the playoffs his first year by just a little bit. Is that accurate?
Well, are you talking about first year as a starter or just first year in the league?
His first year in the league when they decided to go with him.
The first year in the league, he was pretty much a medical scratch, like that whole COVID year. After he got drafted, and then Aaron Rodgers came back for one more year to kind of, extend the whatever you want to call it, the twilight of his career, and they did not. The Lions actually eliminated them from the playoffs, and there was like one game because of COVID where Jordan Love played in Kansas City. He was the starter in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So they did, for his first year in the NFL, technically as a starter, they did not make the playoffs. So
yeah.
So
and it's I don't think you need to make the playoffs every year to be excited. I mean, ultimately that's the goal, right? Every team wants to win.
Right.
But if you can have a young team that you can develop, that you can kind of mold into what you want it to be, I feel like that is so much more important than going out and getting a guy who's like, oh, you know what? I could try to win you a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, which is why they denied Aaron Rodgers the contract. I don't know. So here's the thing. Vikings fans are so frustrating. Because one week they'll be like, oh, yeah, we should have signed Aaron Rodgers. And the next week they're like, oh, glad we didn't sign that guy. And he wouldn't have done well with our line either. So I don't know why people are so cynical about it. It's like you got to kind of embrace that there's going to be some tough times for your team. Unless you're the Browns, and you can, all hope is kind of lost.
Then you just cry. You curl into the fetal position and cry.
You know what? There are a lot of players I like on the Browns. I feel bad for most of them.
Most of them.
But it's just like, I feel like I'm going to be riding with JJ McCarthy to see how he does this season.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he does well. Every Vikings fan should hope that he does well too. Yeah. Those of us who are like, oh, let's tank for another quarterback. I'm like, at what point do you keep saying like, oh, hey, at what point do you say, well, never mind. Let me go back. At what point do you say, let's keep this guy for a couple of years, see if he works out, build an O-line and some offensive weapons around him.
Which he has, arguably, forward. The offensive weapons are there. It's the line. Build up the line. Beef up that line. Keep your tackles healthy. Build the guards, center, and just
draft a decent cornerback, and which we do have. They were gassed the past couple of games.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard when, like you mentioned, it is hard to play defense effectively, at least when you're out there the entire game. I mean, the offense for the Vikings was really not doing the defense any favors on Thursday night, kind of punting or missing field goals or throwing interceptions or taking sacks, whatever it was. The defense was not getting a lot of help, and that's hard for, I think, Brian Flores to build the scheme, right? Because it's always a slow burn, which is one of the more fascinating but frustrating things about the Minnesota defense, is that just you'll be like, oh, we're getting them. We scored a touchdown or two, and this game looks close, right? And then all of a sudden they just flip a switch, and it's all out blitzes, and we can't figure out how to stop the pressure up the middle or off the edge, and we they're all of a sudden swarming to tackle on the run, and then the corners get into it. So it's just the Brian Flores scheme is this like slow burn, and then he's just like, okay, we're gonna lull him to sleep, and then we're gonna show our teeth on defense.
Right.
like,
Right.
like all the good games, every good game that the Minnesota defense has, like that's kind of the script that at least that I've seen from an outside.
Unless it was against Cincinnati.
Right. Then it was just an absolute. Then it was, pardon my language, belt to from the start of it. That yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I think what I would be, I'm not a Minnesota fan, right? But what is a little bit kind of frustrating and maybe disappointing from the kind of like Carson Wentz experience that we got over the last, like, what was it, week 2 on? Yeah, week 3. Week 3 is when he became the starter. Am I correct on that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So like from week 3 on, it was kind of like Carson Wentz was kind of supposed to be the buoy that kind of helped kind of stabilize things, and maybe you win some games and kind of stay in this. Now 3-4 by all means is not out of it in any sort of way in terms of the division race or kind of vying for a playoff spot, but it's kind of like you get into this territory where a loss or 2 or 3 more, you kind of get into that danger zone territory of what's going to happen with the season. And like you said, we just gotta, I think Minnesota fans have to be comfortable with maybe it isn't a playoff year. And we don't know, right? There's a lot to see down the road, right? But
Yeah.
I think they're not out of it. That kind of addresses my other question of, I don't think, we've talked back and forth. I don't think you're panicking, are you? No.
No, I'm not panicking. I'm just going to kind of take it game by game at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, that's how every season should be taken, really, because injuries happen.
Yep.
Rough weeks happen.
Yep.
Back-to-back losses happen. They do.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes your team, the players on your team believe that they're going to go undefeated, and then they lose to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens. So I like your approach. I don't think, like I said, I don't think at 3-4 that the Vikings are out of any sort of conversation. Just got to see what we're going to get from JJ McCarthy now, and it hopefully will be really exciting. And he comes along and he develops, because you don't spend that type of draft capital to get a scrub, right? He's a high pick. He's talented, won a national championship at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh. So, I think they've got a bright future ahead of them, certainly, is what I will say.
Yeah, and there's a recent update that Van Ginkel is determined to perform this upcoming Sunday.
Okay, so he's kind of pushing for a return this Sunday versus the Lions then?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to try.
Yeah. I mean, because what's been the issue? Was it another concussion issue?
No, it's just like the neck kind of was like not quite right still. So, but that's pretty dangerous, especially in a sport like this where you can get messed up pretty quickly.
Yeah, anything having to do, in my personal opinion, anything having to do with the neck, head, or the spine really is something that you don't want to mess around with in the NFL. It just better to take a seat and play a week later, a couple weeks later, and be fully healthy, in my personal opinion. But then again, there's the other factor where these guys are getting paid millions of dollars to show up on Sunday and do a job, and that job is either play offense or defense, make plays. What is it they say? The best ability is availability, right? Right. I'm getting that quote wrong. But, so it will be interesting to see. Should we move on to the Bears at the Ravens?
Yeah, let's do it.
Bears at the Ravens. I'm gonna steal your quote.
You go ahead.
It had to be my favorite text of last weekend when you texted me and you go, so the Bears are exactly who we thought they were.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping
I,
that the Bears would come in and be competitive. I think they kind of got put in their place by a more decent team
yeah.
than most that they played.
Well, and you know what really makes me kind of scratch my head and kind of be a little bit frustrated with the Bears is that um, this was not even with Lamar, right? Like, yeah, Derrick Henry had a decent game. He had 21 carries, 71 yards, 2 TDs, but Tyler Huntley had kind of an average game against this Bears defense and this the entirety of the Bears team.
I mean, average is still good for a backup quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Like average like average when I say average, like Tyler Huntley was 17 of 22, 186 yards and a TD, but he didn't throw an interception. I didn't necessarily look and see if he had a sack, but the he came in as a backup and did exactly what he needed to do, and that was beat a team in the Bears that was, I thought they were more evenly matched, is what I should say. I did.
Yeah, I think we both did mistakenly just with the previous games that the Bears had been playing.
Yeah.
But I think the Bears might struggle a bit here down the road. And I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But they have played a lot of teams with a lot of injuries. They have been lucky in different weeks. And, of course, every team has to play week to week.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's the Bears' fault at all for any, injury or anything. But I am saying you have to play better again. I mean, you have to play better against better opponents. I mean,
Yeah.
you put it like ESPN would put it.
Something along the lines of, if you don't score more points than your opponent, you won't win. Something like that sort of juicy nugget is what we're talking about.
Kind of revise Greg Popovich quote. You got to put the ball in the end zone to win.
That's fantastic. That's good. I like that repurposed quote. That's
Yeah.
Chris Huss, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Huss.
Thank you.
I think we talked about this last week, and we've talked about this in previous weeks, how like the getting lucky and like relying on a blocked field goal or multiple interceptions or your rushing attack, having two backs that have 100+ yards, right? That's not necessarily a sustainable model for winning. Because I'm like looking at the Bears schedule, and they played well for 3 quarters against the Vikings. You're not going to win when you don't show up to the fourth quarter. And then they played really terribly against the other competition that's been pretty good against them was the Lions, right? And they really kind of from the get-go boat raced them and made it kind of impossible for the Bears to do really anything in that week 2 game. Now that's, the Lions are different, the Bears are different at this point, but the kind of better, higher tier competition they played, the Vikings, the Lions, and now the Ravens, and you're going to have games coming up that are only going to get more challenging, and they're going to go into a stretch of playing division games as well, where every little thing kind of, it just, the division games end up being different, right? Like where it's just like every little mistake is magnified by 100,000 times, and all of a sudden an interception turns into, 2 touchdowns, or it just, I don't know if the Bears can continue to play this way, right? and have success in this division that's very competitive. We both know that.
Well, I think it's going to take a couple of years under Coach Ben Johnson to really shape them out.
Yeah.
I I don't really have anything other to say other than that. Where the players are going to have to buy into the system.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get the toxicity out of there
Yeah.
and bring in the positivity for them to really embrace a winning culture. And until that happens, the Bears won't have much success in the postseason.
No. Yeah. I mean, yeah, let alone the division, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, like we said, the Bears are exactly who we thought they were. Oh man. Well, that brings us to Sunday Night Football. Steelers versus Packers, which was as I mentioned last week, this was one of the games with kind of the more interesting storylines. I can see why they put it on Sunday Night Football. It's Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love, which that whole I don't buy into the quarterback versus quarterback thing. They play, it's they're not going head to head, right? They run different offensive units, but either way, it truly did deliver everything that we would have wanted out of this matchup. I don't know how much of it you watched, but
I mean, I didn't really watch much of it, but I was following it, and it seemed like to me that the Packers still had trouble. Yeah, I mean, you can blame the officiating all you want, but if that's a better team, if that's like the Colts or something like that, the Packers don't win that game.
No, they don't come back in that game. The fact that they were down 16-7 at halftime, and then kind of managed to in the third and fourth quarter, near the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, have this kind of massive rally. Again, that's not a sustainable way to win games. It's thrilling when it happens. Like what Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft did in that game offensively is fantastic, and won Jordan Love, Player of the Week, NFC Player of the Week honors, and that's fantastic for him. But you gotta be like from the get go, if you're gonna play these games against higher quality opponents and be successful and keep stacking wins, you need to start fast. You need to keep your foot on the gas. And I want to see more out of this offense. We've talked about this. We talked about this when they held on and, when it was a friggin' nail biter against the Cardinals. We talked about this when they looked sloppy against the Bengals. It's kind of ever since that Cleveland game, they've been winning games, but they've looked sloppy, just not a fully functioning, clicking on all cylinders offense like we want. And the defense has had moments or flashes where they're good, and then they have flashes where they're really bad. So it's the word is frustrating, just frustrating.
I don't think I could put it any better than that. You know what? And with that, I think we can move on.
We can move on. We can talk about the Week 9 games. Big matchups coming up.
All right. So first, so the Bears and the Bengals are going to be a conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is another game that could go either way.
Right. This is the battle of kind of two offenses and two defenses that are kind of mid-tier. It's not a very exciting matchup or anything that I am really going to tune into besides, rooting against Chicago, right? So, it's kind of, for me, a little bit of a toss-up. I did see, I was looking and kind of following injury situations. Joe Flacco is dealing with an AC joint, a shoulder issue. And so it is right now 50-50, right? I think that sounds to me like it's going to be a game time decision as to whether or not we're going to see Joe Flacco or whoever the quarterback is. Could be Jake Browning. Could be finally Shador. Maybe. Doubt that.
Wait. You're saying Sidor for the Bengals?
Yeah. Oh my gosh! That's not the Bengals. I'm so
No, you're
sorry.
thinking the Browns. I get it. I get it.
I confuse that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, it would be Jake Browning would be the go to if it's not Joe Flacco that can go.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, we saw what Jake Browning did in a few weeks, and he might have set that offense back by a year or two with
Quite a bit. Yeah.
it's just like it takes a lot of effort to make Jamar Chase and T. Higgins look completely inept and ineffective. Like, you have two of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and you can't get the ball to them because of your offensive line protection and the fact that your offense and defense really can't function. I don't really have a pick. I'm going to make you pick this game first, and then I'm going to go off what you say.
Well, I think if Joe Flacco does not play, it's the Bears by 3.
Okay.
If Joe Flacco plays, then it's Bengals by 3. I don't think it's going to be a very good game to watch. Otherwise, I'm not going to be tuning into this game.
What? You're telling me you don't want to watch the Bears play the Bengals? Oh man.
Not this year, no.
Yeah, no. It's not. That's not very thrilling appointment TV that I want to watch. I think I agree with you. This can swing either way. I really don't have I don't want to commit to a pick either way. The Packers fan in me wants the Bears to lose, although the NFC North fan in me wants the Bears to continue kind of being successful. So we have, a division with teams at or above 500. So either way, 3-point swing one way or the other, depending on who the quarterback is for the Bengals. But yeah, if Joe Flacco's playing, there's some magic there, and the 40-year-old is gonna beat the Bears by 3. If not, Bears by 3. But enjoy that. Enjoy watching that. Right.
All right, let's move on to the Panthers-Packers game. The Panthers have found some recent success. Granted, their last win, I believe they were on a bye last week, and their last win was against the Jets.
Yeah.
Not by very many, but they did play well. Oh, and they did beat the Cowboys, too, which the Packers did fail to do. So,
right.
That being said, do you think this could be a potential trap game for the Packers?
I really hope not. But it could be. This sets up this sets up in the way that it could very well be a trap game because it's at Lambeau. Everything on paper, everything about the matchup tells us this is a game that the Packers should and really ought to win, right? They have the talent on both sides of the ball to outplay the Panthers at home and beat them. I just the only way I see this becoming a dangerous trap game is if Green Bay comes out flat and doesn't score, like I said, doesn't have that quick start and can't get things established, and we have another having to rally in the second half sort of game. I want nothing to do with that, but I do think that the Packers have shown this year that they do have that potential to come out flat and play a game where it's a nail biter. As I said, with all of that, I would like to believe, though, that the Packers are a talented team on both sides of the ball and they should win this game. They should win it comfortably, but I'm not going to be super bold about my prediction. I'm going to say the Packers win it by 7. They should win it by more.
Yeah.
Winning by 7 is the conservative pick for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go Packers by 3.
Okay.
for some reason it's going to be closer than what we think it's going to be. But I wouldn't count the Panthers out of this one. They could very
Sure.
well,
Yeah, no, I
be.
mean, if you sleep on the Panthers, like it quickly becomes a situation where we're sweating it out in the fourth quarter, and it comes down to a defensive stop or some sort of turnover or whatever it is, right? And you kind of feel lucky to escape it. A detail to note about this game is that Bryce Young is playing, so.
Okay.
But I do, in general, outside of like Xavier Legat, I'm not really sure who the Panthers have at wide receiver for Bryce Young to throw to. So I just that's kind of where I get that Packers should win this game prediction.
He has been able to kind of improvise, though, from what I've seen on the highlights. So
Mm-hmm.
we will see. Yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
what
he's
happens.
yeah, absolutely. It will be a really interesting game to watch, like always. I'll be tuned into it because, of course, that's what I do as a Packers fan. Whether it hurts me or not, I tune into it. So,
Right.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Vikings at the Lions. I think this is going to be a tough one for the Vikings. I think they need to really kind of just simplify the playbook a little bit. They need to figure out a way to
Yep.
run the football well, which Jordan Mason I feel like has. I don't want to say fixed quite yet, but he hasn't fumbled the ball in the last couple weeks,
Sure.
which has made it really enjoyable to watch him, tear off a chunk of yards. I think if they can find a way to run the football, if they can do some play action passes, some quick slant routes, throw it downfield when nobody expects it, come up with maybe a couple trick plays here and there. And honestly, if Van Ginkel's back, that's going to be the huge thing. The Vikings have quite a bit of a chance to win it. Also, the big question will be if Christian Darrisaw is back. If Christian Darrisaw is back, it prevents your quarterback from getting hit too many times. Let's just say that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Um, yeah, I like those are all. That's really great analysis there, Chris. I like that.
Yeah.
I,
Well, and then if you look at it too, like the Lions, they have a pretty good defense.
mhm.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a little scared this game that they're going to decimate the line, but we've also seen the Vikings do some great things versus one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, no reason to worry until we're into the game. If they can hang on to the football, they can play decent enough on defense. If they can keep the defense off the field, really.
Yeah.
That's not saying the defense is bad. It's just saying you can't have your defense out on the field for most of the game
Yeah.
and expect to win. We'll see what happens here. But if I'm going to if I'm going to be conservative, I'm saying Lions by 3 because it's at home.
Okay.
It always seems like it doesn't matter the quality of the team. They just play like it's the Super Bowl when it's the conference games. And that's what I enjoy about the NFC North.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, the conference games, like I mentioned earlier, are just they're a special type of game. They're a special type of they feature some of the best rivalries in the NFL. I think like Vikings Packers, Packers Bears, even the Lions Vikings, and the Lions Packers matchups recently have just been fantastic. So I think there's just a little extra there. The crowd has a little bit more juice. There's a little bit more kind of adrenaline going and a little bit more excitement in these matchups from the players, from the fans. Just they're great matchups. Outside of obviously the Packers game, I think this is my favorite game of the weekend. I always love these divisional matchups, especially between the Lions and Vikings. there's kind of a lot really. I see this as a little bit of a tipping point for Minnesota's season, right? We mentioned earlier. I don't think either of us are in this state where fans should panic about where the Vikings are right now at 3-4. Um,
Right.
you know,
I don't even think this is a must-win game, but
no,
they
no,
need to
yeah,
show something.
yeah. I think if you show fight and you ultimately come up short against the Lions, that's okay, right? This is not a loss here. Does not mean that the Vikings season is doomed or that they're going to miss the playoffs or that they can't be in this race for the NFC North, right?
Yeah, don't read the don't read the internet comments if
Yeah.
they do lose.
No, I think this is a weekend. This is a matchup where you got to turn off the internet comments and just watch this and enjoy this for what it is. Um, I think with all of that being said, I like the points that you make about what they need to do, Minnesota that is, to kind of win this matchup. It's kind of all out in front of them. Like you got to trust in the process. JJ McCarthy is going to be starting. Find a way to simplify the offense, get the running game going. I do really like what you said about keep the defense for Minnesota off the field. Um, Find a way to sustain long drives and score touchdowns. We talked about the red zone performance. That was a point of contention. That was something that directly affected the outcome of the Eagles game. You need to execute in the red zone and have long drives. And I think they can do that through Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. Um, this game feels like a coin flip to me. It really does. It really does. But I'm gonna agree with you that I think because it's in Detroit, just where the two teams are at, they're kind of at different points in terms of how we look at them. I agree with you. I think I'm going to say Lions by 3, but that's a very I think it's going to be a very close game in the end of all of this. Very
Yeah,
close, very close. And that maybe that could flip the other way. Like if the Vikings do all the things that we're talking about here, and they come out of it and they beat a tough division opponent in the Lions, like good. They're back at 500. They're right in it, right? And then all of that stuff that all the fan base is talking about negatively right now, that kind of all goes away for a week.
yeah. We'll see what happens. It's all gonna be up and down for the rest of the season, I think. But gotta enjoy the ride with new quarterback in the driver's seat too.
Yeah,
It's going to depend on offensive line play and how just how long we can keep the ball.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean,
Again, another ESPN quote, but
oh, fantastic! No, it's going to be exciting, and now they're kind of at the point with Carson Wentz getting the season-ending shoulder surgery. Like they're at the point they got to play JJ at this point now. Like that's what they've got. Like this is the roster. This is what you're going to do, and like you said, have patience. There's going to be some growing pains. Maybe it's great, but probably take some time, right? Someone gave me that advice. I don't know who that was that gave me that advice about Jordan Love. I can't remember.
right.
I
And,
think
and like if it works out, it works out. It's like I see a lot of positives. I saw a lot of positives during the Falcons game where we lost.
yeah,
Because I was texting you during that game, like we weren't out of it, and he was completing some great throws down the field. It
yeah.
was just he was not protected
No,
the entire game.
yeah, yeah, no, and I mean that just like every kind of there for like every glimmer of hope that there was, it just kind of got quickly snuffed out by the offensive line play. So that's hard place to be. But they were in that game. They were, and who knows if they end up finding a way to get into the end zone and beat Atlanta, and JJ doesn't have the high ankle sprain. We're probably talking about things a little bit differently in terms of where we're at right now. So
Yeah.
who knows? But it's a game. It truly is a game of inches. Any given Sunday, something can happen. So
Definitely. I mean, we saw the Vikings win a game by a lot, lose a game by a lot this year. So we'll see what happens this Sunday. I'm excited for it.
As we both wish, that our teams could just win a game comfortably and make us not stress out about it.
Yeah, but that's the NFC North.
Yeah, that's the NFC North. We can't have nice things. We just have to suffer and, well, not suffer. Our teams are very good. They're very very competitive. It's just stressful often.
Yeah. All right. With that, I think that'll be a good point to end it for tonight. Thank you all, or this morning, or whenever you're listening. Thank you all for listening. I'm Chris, and over in Wisconsin is.
Oh, and I'm PJ in Wisconsin.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
All right. Peace out, everybody.